all the way down to the janitor. And I'm sorry, they're going to go 5-11 this year.
I love Rick's run. I think he's a really, really good head coach. Geno Smith and Michael Vick. If you have in New York, if you have a quarterback that's even half as good as the starter, they're always going to clamor for him. So there will be some quarterback controversy between Vick and Smith. Not as bad as Smith and Sanchez, obviously, but Chris Johnson will lead the NFL in rushing. 1,400 yards rushing. I've said this. He is going to be a stud tailback. He's going to come back to his old deal. Like their defense. I like Decker, but the quarterback is a little iffy, and their secondary really scares me.
So what do you have them going?
I'm going another 8-8 season.
8-8? Well, that's better than I had them. So maybe there's hope for New York fans.
All right, now let's move on to Buffalo. Buffalo is the most inconsistent team in the NFL, I think. I have them going 6-10, mostly because I'm not a buyer into E.J. Manuel. I love C.J. Spiller. I like Robert Woods, but the trading of Stevie Johnson hurts. Their defense has some parts. Kyle Williams, Mario Williams, Gilmore. But the loss of Jarius Byrd was huge to the Saints. That was a big mistake. Just very inconsistent. They can maybe dominate a team like the Patriots one week and the next week lose by 40 to Jacksonville. There's too iffy 6-10.
Actually, this is one of the teams I have the Jets beating. So you can imagine, I have them going 3-13.
So they're going to have the first pick.
Yeah, they're going to be...
I like Sammy Watkins, but is he healthy?
Well, they also have some management problems because they are being sold. And
will they be in Buffalo?
Yeah. And, of course, the players will get their checks, but will they really be motivated enough to get out there and win every week?
It's hard to, in Week 14, be 2-11 and just care.
That's right.
It's hard to care. All right, and rounding out the AFC East is the Miami Dolphins, led by most overrated quarterback in the league, Ryan Tannehill. We all know about the Richie Incognito, Jonathan Martin incident. The offensive line has not recovered. Sean Moreno has not looked great in camp, the big signee. Their defense, besides Cameron Wake, is very wobbly. But they do have some talent. They have a new general manager. I like Mike Wallace. But Joe Philbin will be fired mid-year in a 7-9 season for them.
Well, I have some good news for Patriots fans. They could actually go 10-6 and win their division, or 6-10 and win their division.
It's okay, Jimmy Garoppolo. Your job is safe.
That's right. I have the Dolphins going 4-12, basically because their offensive line, I think, stinks.
It stinks. Besides Brandon Albert at left tackle, it's got all. And Pouncey at center, but Pouncey was supposedly that third wheel in that relationship with Incognito and Jonathan Martin. A little shaky there.
That's right, and of course they have quarterback issues.
Oh, also shout out! I love Charles Clay, their tight end, but he's not a tight end, guys. He's a fullback.
I have a question.
He's 6'1".
Who is the Dolphins' backup?
Quarterback?
Yeah.
Matt Moore.
Who's
better than Ryan Tannehill.
That's right.
Start the guy. I'd rather have Jimmy Clausen. All right.
There might be hope for him.
Well, Jimmy Clausen's now Cutler's back up in Chicago.
Oh.
All right, now we'll move to the North. The AFC North, starting with those Cincinnati Bengals, the reigning champs. Andy Dalton's got his brand spanking new contract. Still got A.J. Green. Love Giovanni Bernard. I think he's a star. He's going to have a LaShawn McCoy type year. Have some weapons in Eifert and Sanu along with Green. Has a really good defense with Ray Malaluga. Geno Atkins is coming back healthy. That'll be huge. I think Marcus Hunt is going to be a breakout star, but I don't buy into Andy Dalton. This year he's going to finally break. He did not deserve that contract. He did not deserve it. He's kind of like a poor man's Peyton Manning, and that's sad because he doesn't even remotely come close to Peyton, but has a good regular season, chokes in the playoffs. But this year I think he'll start to choke a little bit in the regular season. May even see some of A.J. McCarron if he's healthy at quarterback. But they'll still go 9-7 because they have a lot of talent.
Well, I have them going 11-5.
Oh, so you're a buyer in on Andy Dalton?
I am buying in on Andy Dalton. However, he is going to have issues later on after the season's over. Playoffs.
You going to choke again? Well, remember, the last 3 years, he has led this team to the playoffs, which is great. You love that out of a second-round pick quarterback, but twice they were dominated by Houston, and last year they were just absolutely demolished by San Diego. You cannot buy into the Bengals. Next, we have the Steelers.
Oh, I don't like the Steelers.
They're still old.
They're not only old, they're bad. They need an offensive line. Sorry, Mr. Roethlisberger. I just don't like you. I think that
They lack receivers.
You'd be better if you had a better line, but you don't. So I have you going 5-11.
They'll go 8-8 again. The loss of Emmanuel Sanders was huge at wide receiver. Antonio Brown's great, but 2 straight years they've lost their number 1 target in Sanders this year, and the year before that, Mike Wallace. 2 huge losses. That defense ain't getting any younger. You know, that team has just lost Lamar Woodley. Larry Foote's moved on, obviously. Palomalu's lost about 4 steps.
Get him a cane.
He needs a cane. And Ryan Clark was the one bright spot on that defense. I thought he's going to the Redskins. And there are 2 tailbacks we know about, Le'Veon Bell and LeGarrette Blount getting busted for marijuana. But that whole running back situation's in a cloud of smoke, so we'll just have to see. We'll have to see how that goes. But they'll go 8-8 because I don't like Roethlisberger personally, but he is a decent quarterback.
Yeah, that's right. He's a good quarterback.
And,
but he doesn't have much to work with.
And now we'll start with your favorite team, the Cleveland Browns.
Oh, yes. I have them going 12-4.
Oh, what are they winning, the Super Bowl?
They're going to get close, but they have a quarterback situation that other people would die for.
You mean the other 29 teams wish they had the Johnny Manziel, Brian Hoyer 24-hour media circus?
That's right. And the production out of them that they're going to get.
It's almost as bad as Michael Sam.
Oh, well, I'm not going to get into that. But I think that the Browns will do excellent, and they're going to go 12-4 this year, win their division.
I almost agree with you. They'll win the division. They're going to be the shocker. They're going to go 9-7 and win their division because they're vastly improved on all fronts. Barkevius Mingo is going to be like I said, is going to be a breakout star. Joe Hayden is the best corner in the game. I'm sorry, Richard Sherman. Loss of T.J. Ward's big, but their line is really good, led by Joe Thomas. I love Jordan Cameron. I think he's the best young tight end in the game. Ben Tate was a huge addition.
Oh, man, good.
And obviously Josh Gordon's a humongous loss, but regardless of Hoyer or Manziel, I don't care. I think it'll probably be a 7-9 split, 9 games for Manziel, 7 for Hoyer, probably because it'll be Hoyer. After the bye week, Manziel comes in, Manziel gets hurt, and Hoyer finishes out the season.
What do you have them going?
I'm going 9-7.
9-7.
They'll win their division because I don't care who starts quarterback. They're both really good. I'd love to have either one of them, Manziel or Hoyer, but the problem is they're 2 totally different quarterbacks, so if one gets hurt or they change, they have to flip their system, so it may take a week if you change to get it acclimated.
That's true. So, how about the Ravens?
Rounding out the AFC North, the Ravens. We live near Houston. We saw the Texans, and we saw Gary Kubiak for the last, 9 years, I think it is?
Oh, no, well, however, it seemed like 9 years.
9 years we had Gary Kubiak. And I am sorry, all you Baltimore Ravens fans out there. Gary Kubiak is going to make your team a dumpster fire. Joe Flacco, all that $120 million you're paying for by paying for your hot dogs are going to go to waste. The acquisitions of Steve Smith is not going to matter. The defense, I love their defense, but it's not going to matter. They're going to lose games 17-13 or especially with Rick Dennison as the QB's coach, is just ruining stuff. Ray Rice will be replaced mid-season by Bernard Pierce anyways, so it's not going to matter. But they're going to really struggle on the offensive end. John Harbaugh may be on the hot seat. They'll go 6-10.
I have them going 6-10 too, and their quarterback, as good as he is, and as much money as he's making, had one weapon taken away from him when they got Dennison and Kubiak, and that's the audible. He's going to have to call their plays, and watch it. When you play your first game, play to the right, interception, touchdown.
Yeah, it will be you'll see it, Ravens fans. It'll be a little semi-screen, line goes to left, QB rolls out to the right, tied in either Dennis Pitta or you're going to get an overused ancient Owen Daniels. He'll roll out to the right, they'll throw it cornerback, safety, or linebacker jumps the route, takes it back 60 yards for a touchdown. Watch it, it'll happen 5 times. We saw with Matt Shaw with the 5 straight games with a pick 6, 4 of them were from the same play. It's a play that needs to be burned and forgotten from memory.
Don't boo Flacco. It ain't his fault.
No, it's Kubiak. He can't help it.
That's right.
All right, now moving into the AFC South, we have the Houston Texans.
Oh.
This is one of the teams that'll jump up.
DQ.
Yeah, obviously the David Quisenberry, our thoughts go out to him. Hope he gets better. But honestly, he might not have made the team if he was healthy.
I don't know. He would have had a hard time.
This team is really deep at some positions.
And they got deeper.
I'm not a believer in Fitzpatrick, trust me. And I'm not a great believer in Mallett, but that's going to be a top 5 defense. Jadeveon Clowney, J.J. Watt. If Brian Cushing can play 12 to 14 games this year, they'll be very good. I just love that defense. They'll win games 17 to 13, unlike the Ravens. DeAndre Hopkins is going to be a Pro Bowler. He's going to have a great year. Great stable of tight ends and tailbacks. And Foster, I don't think is going to be their leading rusher. I think it'll be Jonathan Grimes. They'll go 9-7.
I have them going 10-6, winning their division, I think. But they are going 10-6. But I think that they are going to have issues at quarterback. And eventually Mallett will be their starter. And after he gets in there, and next year they'll get a adequate backup in either Savage or someone else like Savage.
Well, there's so many good quarterbacks coming up in this draft. You can get great ones in the second round.
That's right. And they'll be much better next year at quarterback, and they'll be having a lot of promise.
And all you Texans fans out there that are just now getting on the bandwagon with Bill O'Brien, sometime in the next 4 years, either via trade or draft, the Texans will have their starting quarterback. His name is Christian Hackenberg. He goes to Penn State. He was recruited there by Bill O'Brien. That's his guy. So already buy your Hackenberg Texan jerseys. You can get them discount by just getting a blank one and getting the name sewed on the back. Be cheaper.
That's right. And the Texans have one thing in their advantage is that Bill O'Brien is very fastidious. He's going to make sure they cut down on mistakes, and that they're going to learn their position and their role that they play very well. And that's the only reason they're going to win, because they're going to do their job.
All right, next is the Jacksonville Jaguars. I'm sorry. I don't care what improvements they make. I like Toby Gerhart. I like the drafting of Marquise Lee. I like Zane Beadles, the guard.
How about Blake or Bob? Or
Biff Bortles, or whatever his name is. Most boring quarterback in the world. They're not even starting him. They're starting Chad Henne. I don't care what they do. Until they make the playoffs or show any improvement, I'm never going to pick them to pick improvement because they've been so bad for so long. So I'm just making the Jaguars 3-13 because they're the Jaguars. Their best player on their team is their kicker, Josh Scobie.
Yeah, I'm picking them to be 4-12, and they are going to be getting better as time progresses. But they have some huge improvements that they need to make.
All right, next is the Indianapolis Colts.
Oh.
The Colts will win this division again. I have them going 10-6, and I hate their defense. It stinks. Robert Mathis has gone for 4 games. The rest of that defense stinks. Their offensive line, besides Anthony Costanzo, stinks. Kobe Fleener's an overrated tight end. He stinks. Trent Richardson for first-round pick. That trade stinks. I do like the addition of Hakeem Nicks from the Giants. Reggie Wayne is ancient, but he's still Reggie Wayne.
Hey, they have T.Y.
And that's my guy, T.Y. Hilton. You may not know this, but I liked T.Y. Hilton when he was at Florida International. I thought he should have been a first-round pick. No one would listen to me, and I claim to be the first one on the T.Y. Hilton bandwagon. So join on. He is going to be a star. He is going to lead the NFL in receiving yards this season. So shockers, T.Y. leads in receiving, Chris Johnson leads in rushing. And I'm not a big believer in Andrew Luck, but he's a nice quarterback. He reminds me of Troy Aikman. He'll go 10-6.
Well, a lot of Cowboy fans would like you for that. I have them going 10-6 as well. And the only reason I don't have them going more is because they stink other than that.
Yeah, they stink.
Yeah, they're a good 10-6 team, and they'll get in the playoffs.
All right, next is the Titans. I like Jake Locker, actually. I think Jake Locker is a very... I think they give him a lot of flack that he doesn't deserve. I like Bishop Sankey. I like Kendall Wright. I like their offensive line. Taylor Lewan. Some really good offensive linemen. Jarrell Casey's nice. But I think the loss of Alteron Werner in the secondary going to the Bucs is a huge loss. Their kicking game is iffy, and kicking means so much in the NFL. You can lose so many games by 4 points because your kicker missed 2 field goals from 40 yards. It's a huge thing to have in the NFL, is a good kicker. But the main reason why, if I had to pick a team that was going to go 10-6 presently, it would be the Titans. But the reason I'm not picking them to go 10-6 and do that is because of their head coach. I am not a fan of Ken Whisenhunt. He is a overhyped coach, and I don't think he should be a head coach in the NFL.
I was so happy when the Titans got Whisenhunt as a coach. That meant that the Texans did not get him as a coach.
We're not believers in Ken Whisenhunt.
However, I have him going 7-9 as well. Or I don't know. What did you have him?
7-9.
Okay, so we both have him at 7.
Now moving on to the final part of the AFC, the AFC West. We'll start with San Diego. They're going to regress. Besides Keenan Allen, there's no one for Philip Rivers to throw to. And yes, I know Antonio Gates is there. This was Antonio Gates' last season in the NFL. He will be cut by the Chargers. He will retire. He has lost it. Their offensive line is subpar. Dwight Freeney will have a nice bounce-back year, but their defense... Manti Te'o will lead the NFL in tackles. I think he'll break out. But their second... I like the addition of Brandon Flowers, but that's the only thing in their secondary. I think Eric Weddle will backtrack, have a nice kicking game, but there's just no one to throw to, and that means so much. He's not Tom Brady, so he can't make Josh Boyce into, A.J. Green. Philip Rivers ain't that. So
what do you have him going?
They'll go 7-9. 7-9.
I have them going 8-8, and that's because they're so middle-ish.
They're very...
They're very... Yeah.
They are the definition of average.
Very average.
Next is the reigning AFC champion, Denver Broncos. I have them going 13-3, and that's for 3 reasons. I have them going 13-3. One, I like the addition of Emmanuel Sanders, and second, I love the addition of DeMarcus Ware. And 3, you've got Peyton Manning. If you have Peyton Manning and backup high school players, you can go 8-8.
With Manning.
Yeah, so you can have Peyton Manning's kids and they go 8-8 running around. So they're 13-3 easy.
I have them going 12-4. This year they had to improve their defense because they had a few issues with that, and their receivers need to learn how to get open, especially when they play Seahawks.
Yeah. So next is the Oakland Raiders, and
all right,
Derek Carr, the second-round pick rookie, will start Week 1 over the injured Matt Schaub. I like the additions of James Jones, Maurice Jones-Drew. I think Justin Tuck will have a nice year. Their secondary stinks. They have no offensive line besides Steven Wisniewski. They will probably have a split, probably 5 games of Schaub, 11 of Carr. They'll go 0-5 in the Schaub games. They'll go 5-11, which means they'll be 5-6 under Carr. But the problem is they'll play Schaub for games. It'll cost Dennis Allen his job. They'll go 5-11.
I have them going 6-10. However, I didn't have when I made this, I didn't have Carr as a quarterback. But if he gets to play at all, I think the numbers go up. I think that he's going to wind up being a super quarterback in the NFL. And if he does play more than 7 games, I have him going winning 7 or 8 games.
Ooh.
So
well, their offensive line still stinks.
It still stinks, but you know what? A good quarterback will get you a whole lot.
And then rounding out the AFC and the AFC West is the shocking team moving from first overall pick to playoffs last year, the Kansas City Chiefs.
Oh yes, and I think the Kansas City Chiefs this year are going to go 9-7. They are a very good team. They're much better than they were 2 years ago. Alex Smith has been a good addition for him. He's a good caretaker. I think that he's a facilitator. However, he's a good facilitator. He's on the upper end of facilitators.
Slightly past Andy Dalton.
Yeah, and so I think that he's good. They're going to wind up 9-7.
They're going to regress because guys like Jamal Charles, Justin Houston, Tamba Hali had all world years. Alex Smith, I don't think he earned that contract. I don't think he should have got it. So I think that'll hurt them a bit. They don't have receivers to speak of. They have a hole at right tackle, and the loss of Brandon Flowers, I think, is going to cost them 1 or 2 games. He was huge last year for him.
He was good.
I think Ryan Suckup got a bad rap. I think he's still a good kicker, and I'm glad the Titans picked him up. But they'll regress a little bit. They'll go 8-8. All
right, so now we go into the Giants.
Oh, moving in to the NFC playoff picture. We'll start with the NFC East with the New York Giants. Their defense stinks. Their old line stinks. So what else you got? We got Eli, Victor Cruz. That offense look really bad, though. They'll go 5-11 because of Eli.
I have them going 5-11 as well. However, if they ever get it figured out and Eli gets going, they could turn it around.
All right, next is the Dallas Cowboys. This is going to be the worst defense in the NFL. They're going to have a top 5 offense, but they're going to have the worst defense in the NFL. Tony Romo, actually, I think it's a bad rep. I'm not big into him, but he does get a bad rep. He's a lot better quarterback than people give him credit for, but that defense is going to weigh him down so bad. This will finally be the year they fired Jason Garrett. They'll go 7-9.
I have them going 6-10.
Ooh.
I think Romo is a great quarterback. However, he's had.
If he gets hurt again, you cannot tell me
I mean,
Brandon Weeden's going to do it for him.
That's right. Brandon Weeden, I can't see him playing with punctured lungs and other issues.
And Jason Witten's not getting any younger, so I think he will regress as well.
Yeah.
Next is the Philadelphia Eagles. This was a team I said would regress because they had so many guys have all-world years last year, LaShawn McCoy, Connor Barwin, and such. All that's going to regress. Nick Foles as well. I like Nick Foles. I really do. But this is his first full year as a starter. It's going to hit him a little hard, especially around week 12. So they'll still win. This problem is this division stinks, so they'll still win it, the Eagles. But they're going to win it at 8-8.
I had them going a little bit better than that. But they're not as good as they were last year. But I have them going 10-6. I think Foles is a good quarterback. But who's the backup?
Well, right now, I mean, it's Mark Sanchez, who's looked great in the preseason.
Oh, Mr. Butt Fumble.
And I do agree with you. I think also Chip Kelly. I love Chip Kelly. I think he's a great head coach. Great head coach. And rounding out the NFC East is the Washington Redskins. I don't buy their defense. London Fletcher's gone. I like Ryan Kerrigan. I like Brian Arakpo. That rest of that defense scares me. Their offense will be very nice with Alfred Morris, Deshaun Jackson, Pierre Garçon, Jordan Reed. But I think RG3 is going to bomb this year. I think he's going to finally realize the thing is he's a bust.
You think he's a bust?
He's a bust. They'll start Kirk Cousins mid-season. Kirk Cousins will save the team and almost get them in the playoffs, but not quite. They'll go 7-9, and RG3 will finally bust.
Well, if he busts and he gets waived, I hope the Texans get it.
I don't get me wrong. I would take a chance, but I don't want to bring up Jamarcus Russell because he's not even close. He's so much more supremely talented than Jamarcus Russell.
I think that RG3.
The injury killed him. The injury. He had this so long of his life. He's had the advantage of running around, and he's lost 0.2 of a second off his speed from 4.4 to 4.6. Now he's getting those tackled. He's getting tackled when he never was getting tackled before, and that hurts him a lot.
That's right. They should never play.
And he doesn't know how to slide. He looks like a duck sliding.
Does he?
Yes, he looks like a duck.
I have him going 6-10.
All right, now we move into the NFC North, and